Good morning, Yolanda. Thank you so much for being willing to record your pre-screening questions. There's only four, and I'm really interested to hear what you have to say. Let's go ahead and get started.
All right, perfect.
The first question is, which HRIS system or systems have you used?
In my past roles, I have used ADP as well as Workday. Some other not so significant ones is like iCIMS and Central Reach.
Okay, perfect. That's great. And was there ever a time when one of your companies that you've worked at haven't necessarily utilized it to the HRIS system to its fullest capacity? And maybe choose one time, like one thing that you identified and how you worked toward an improvement or an optimization or any recommendations that you made to optimize it.
Sure. So I'm really big on process improvements. And one of the things that I did with my last company within ADP is that my leadership team did not optimize their capabilities within the platform. So I was able to work with ADP and figure out how we can switch the system so that way they could better utilize it. So what I mean by that is my leadership team, they had a hard time of seeing pay changes. When was the last pay change? When was hire date? So working with ADP to optimize that process gave them full capability to be themselves, or not really to be themselves, but to be, oh gosh, my words. They were able to be more self-sufficient. There we go.
Sure. So what I'm hearing is some of the managers were unable to see the pay changes. And I know that you mentioned prior to this recording that you were having to pull manual audits for all of the managers. So
That is correct.
really, like you said, it helped them become self-sufficient and pulling that information themselves, and there wasn't a lag in time.
Correct. And it also took one less thing off my plate so that way I could focus on other things.
Wonderful. Second question is, walk me through an employer relations issue that you had. What was the general situation? How did you address it? And what was the outcome?
Okay, so in my last role, I was the HR business partner for Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, and the Carolinas. We had recently acquired 4 new clinics within that time frame of about 3 months. And one of the things that was brought to my attention is that during the acquisition, there was some cameras up. Not only were the cameras up, but they were recording audio and visual. So when it was brought to my attention, I immediately you started to investigate. It was a HIPAA breach as well as confidentiality to our clients and to our employees because they were never able to have conversations. After I found out that the cameras were active live, I took it back to the council, which is our legal department within the company. And due to that, the 2 employees end up being termed.
Okay, understood. And then the third question is, when you think about your past positions and some of the reporting that you looked at on a weekly basis or any metrics or analytics that you looked at, what can you think of a time when you noticed something that needed to be improved upon based on those analytics? So you looked at a report and you're like, oh man, like we're paying too much in overtime or something like that. So we need to address this and fix it. Was there a time where you did some sort of process improvement based on that?
Yeah, so my process improvement dealt with the matrix or reporting more based on our technician scale. So I would sit with the leadership team and I would find out why a particular employee did not, convert any sessions or any type of hours the previous week. And then I would figure out the reason why and get back to them with that. Another thing that I did for process improvement, and which actually helped the employee, didn't really help the company, but it did help the employee. So that was for employee retention, is that I have to look at federal, state, and local laws. And in Mississippi, one of the things that I realized is that our employees there were not being compensated their full PTO. What I mean by that is at Proud Moments, we had an opportunity that we offered our technicians for every 52 hours worked equals 1 hour of PTO. Well, according to Mississippi state law, that every 32 hours worked would equal 1 hour of PTO. So I got to really help out the employees there, and it did improve employee morale.
Wonderful. And you were also following the law. So
Yeah.
that's a really good thing.
Yeah, we don't want anybody to
That's
get in
important
trouble.
in HR. Yeah.
Right.
Last question. How have you coached, or what role did you play in coaching and developing employees into leaders? Or, it's not always necessarily into leaders. Sometimes it's just helping people understand what the next step could be in their career within the same organization.
Sure. So I'm really big on employee development. I really enjoy that for the employees who have careers and ambitions or goals, like they have something that's attainable. I do like to help get them there. One of the things that I implemented at my last job is that we had a termination policy. A lot of the leaders in my territory were first-time leaders, so I was able to coach them and just have them get a basic understanding of what it means to, document infractions, document attendance, or something as simple as that, and being able to really coach them along the way. One of the last things that I did do is I developed an IDP plan for one of my analysts, and she was actually able to gain that role and become a senior clinical director because of that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's definitely a really good reflection on how you develop people, because it's definitely not easy.
Yeah, it's not. And it makes it easier when people do want to, or if they're
Yeah.
wanting to listen, it makes it more enjoyable then. Sometimes you just gotta go, no, just listen to me for a second. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And knowing
it's really rewarding.
Yeah, and knowing is half the battle. So if people don't know that they can move around in the company, then they're more likely to leave. So I think that's
Right.
a really great strategy for employee retention. Well,
Yep.
thank you so much for your time, Yolanda. I really appreciate your answers, and I will talk to you soon.
All right, perfect. Thank you.